do on a regular basis, but all of our law enforcement and military who provide assistance for us down here. So with that, I will turn it over to Governor Ducey. Governor, once again, thank you very much for coming down today.
Thank you very much, Chief Koresh, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be back here in Nogales today. A governor has no higher priority than public safety, protecting a state and its citizens. The people of Arizona have been calling on the federal government to secure this border for many years. With efforts like our Border Strike Force, we've been able to combat the illegal flow of drugs, human trafficking, and weapons into Arizona. And I'm grateful today to have a federal administration that is finally taking action to secure the border for the safety of all Americans. Some of the guardsmen and women that you see here today, along with personnel from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and other federal agencies, have been working in partnership with our local sheriffs and police chiefs to keep our communities and our nation safe along our southern border. With Operation Guardian Shield underway, more members of the Arizona National Guard have joined them to provide a much-needed support for these ongoing security efforts. I have no doubt they will be an asset to the operations taking place here. I receive regular updates on border activity, but with the recent surge that we've seen, I wanted to come down to the front line in Nogales and see it for myself. I want to hear from the experts and see our border security operation in action. I want to express my thanks and gratitude, along with my support, once again to everyone at every level for the work that you do to keep us safe. We're truly grateful for your service. Thank you.
What kind of questions do you have?
There is some question that a lot of this is more show than go, that the real need is with the agents who are doing the customs work at the border, and that's where the real need is. Will any of the National Guard be actually working with customs officials?
This should not be a surprise to anyone. This has been an issue in Arizona for the past decade. We had to put together a border strike force that is led by Colonel Milstead because there was no attention being paid to what was happening on our southern border with drugs and human trafficking. With the recent surge that we've seen, not only month over month in the last 60 days, but a 200% surge year over year, for this administration to call up the National Guard or call on the governors to call up the National Guard to work with the Customs and Border Patrol is much needed. So they are going to be working with Customs and Border Patrol at the border. And we're going to leave it to the law enforcement experts as to where they should best be deployed. But the National Guard is here in a support position, and I'm going to turn it over to the chief to talk about where he is going to deploy to stop the illegal flow of migration and drugs.
And Nancy, just to answer your question, what we're going to have is we're developing a plan, a phased approach, but at some point in time, they are going to see support at the ports of entry as well, if that's what you're asking, because we also have to ensure is that we can still inspect a lot of the cargo that's coming into the United States. Of vital importance to our communities is lawful trade and travel. So we can always also use the Guard is to support us not only between the ports of entry, but at the ports of entry, is to make sure is that we can properly screen the commerce that's coming into the United States.
But Chief, when we talk to law enforcement officials down here and we talk to the business community, that is the place where everybody says they need resources. And we have National Guards troops here, but it doesn't sound like any of them are going where the experts here say we need them.
They are going there, I assure you that. As I indicated, we are working into a phased approach on this. We're looking initially at some resources between the ports of entry, but we are also going to bring some of those resources that we are requesting through the governor and the National Guard is to support the ports of entry as well.
I'll come here, I'm going to come here, and then I'll come over there. We received a phone call from Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen before the numbers were even released, informing the border governors, myself, Governor Jerry Brown, Governor Susana Martinez, and Governor Greg Abbott, of the surge in activity at the border. Of course, we're aware of it as well. They informed us that the Department of Defense would put the order forward. The funding would be available through Title 32, so it doesn't affect Arizona's general fund, but the funds flow from the federal government. Well, what we've done in Arizona is the Border Strike Force. So we've done that over the last 3 years of this administration. We're working with the county sheriffs, local law enforcement, and now we finally have the Border Patrol as a partner in this operation. Well, these are national news reports. It's a 200% surge year over year, March 2017 to 2018, and a 37% increase from February to March. Well, I'm the governor of the state of Arizona. I'm giving you the total numbers for the state of Arizona. Do you want to?
So we have seen spikes throughout the southwest border. I think March was one of the increases that we saw a tremendous number of apprehensions go up. Here and in other places, I know Yuma was up 46% in their traffic. So we are seeing spikes in traffic all along the southwest border. The Rio Grande Valley down in South Texas is probably the highest, but Tucson sector is a close second in the apprehensions. I don't have the exact numbers for you right now, but I'll definitely have my public affairs folks provide that to you.
I'm Ariel from Nogales International. As people mentioned, the economy is a big concern here for development in Santa Cruz County. Couldn't this be seen as couldn't this make it actually worse if people may feel that it's unsafe to come here? Why are you sending it here specifically to make people feel like it's unsafe to visit before this? It could turn off traders. And it is something that you care about. So how do you reconcile the concern for improving the economy with the local impact it's going to have on tourism districts?
Well, our economy is growing in Arizona. The last time our unemployment rate was this low in the state of Arizona, people were renting their movies from Blockbuster. So it's safe here in our state. Our economy is growing. People are moving to the state. Over 200,000 folks have moved here over the last 3 years. But we also want to protect the public. And border security is public safety. And we want to stop the drugs and the human trafficking that's happening coming across the border. So we're working with the Border Strike Force. We're working with the National Guard and the Border Patrol to do that.
But why send it to Nogales? Nogales, the economy is not good. People are moving. So why send it here? Where, I mean, why not?
Well, listen, we have to.
National highlights Olympic National Guard to Nogales.
The National Guard is going to the southern Arizona border. A governor has to balance the responsibility of growing economy with public safety, and public safety is going to come first.
But Governor, are you worried about the optics that you believe that the situation is so dire that you're mobilizing the military to come here? What is that?
I think every Arizonan and every American realizes what has been happening on our southern border. We're just focused on border security here. So the optics of it are you have a government, both a federal government in Washington, D.C., and a state government that's working together and acting to partner and to protect its citizens.
Governor, coming out of Sonora, word is that the business and the government community there are not very happy with you right now. They feel like they've been kind of taken by surprise. Have Have you had a direct conversation with Governor Pavlovich?
I have a wonderful relationship with Governor Pavlovich and her team. My team was with her team yesterday, and the briefings on the situation and an understanding of the operation. I haven't talked to her on this specific issue, but I talk to her all the time. I see her every few months, and we have a very close relationship. We have a friendship.
One more, guys, one more.
Following the deployment in 2005 and 2010, the GLA released a report where the Department of Defense said that it was very concerned about, this is the Department of Defense, very concerned about creating the perception of militarization of the border. That is what these people are, is militarization of the border. Is that not concerned?
There is no militarization of the border. The National Guard is here in support of the Border Patrol, and it is the Border Patrol that is in the law enforcement position, and I'm going to let the leader of the Border Patrol talk a little bit more about that. Chief?
I think it's important for everybody to realize we do have drugs. We are facing an opioid epidemic, as the President has talked about. We do have weapons smuggling that occurs on this border. We do have illicit cash that goes across this border. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us to do everything we can is to protect the communities we serve. The military support that we're going to get here is going to allow us to free up some agents, is to return to those vital duties. And I think that this is all a combined effort that we can show the people in Arizona and in other states is that we can work together on a problem that we have out here. So I know it's something that people are thinking that why are we doing this now? This is something that's happened under previous administrations, both with the Bush administration and also the Obama. So I mean, I think it's important sometimes for us is to see is that there is a need for us is to get support. There is no one agency, whether it's here in Arizona or in other parts of the country, that has enough resources is to tackle the problem, especially with the amount of money that a lot of the cartels have in operating down here.
Wasn't this triggered by the President doing this caravan of people coming through and going and smashing through our border? Isn't that what triggered the concern and triggered the National Guard?
Nancy, I think that this has been a topic that we've been looking at for some time. We've had numerous caravans that have come to our borders in the past. That is where, of course, we have the mission is to intercept that. That is not what we're asking the Guard to do. We're asking them to help us in certain areas so that it will give us the resources is to apply to the border. Make no mistake about this, immigration work is a responsibility of CBP and the other agencies within DHS. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. If again, I gave you a contact number for our shop, for our public affairs shop. If you have further questions, please reach out to them, and they should be able to answer your questions for you and provide those stats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, quick question. Where is the Guardsman staying?
That's, you're going to have to ask them.
Okay, that's my
When are these soldiers actually going to be out deployed? Do we know?
I don't have those answers. Like I said, contact our 3210 number.
How many exactly will be deployed to know how to do that, Chief?
I don't have